Now this is a podcast all about Bears. You either cheering for this team or just pulling your hair. I like to take a minute, just sit right back and tell you how I became the #1 Bears fan.
That boy is Benny Hunter.
Cake on the mic, cake on the mic, cake on the mic, cake on the mic. People, this the intro. Sacramento, California, born and raised. And Antelope is where I spend most of my days. Talk bad about my team, you must be a clown. This is Keek on the mic, so you know you better bear down. Bear down.
Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. Before I get this episode started, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms, and make sure you share this episode of Keek on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. So before I get this episode of Keek on the Mic started, I first off want to apologize for my absence. I got a little sick, so I decided to take a whole week off to recover, to make sure I didn't sound all sick and congested for those of you guys who are listening, because that's honestly the most annoying thing sometimes when people try to talk when they're sick and they just sound terrible. So I decided to take a whole week off. Thank you so much for staying subscribed to the channel. I am back better and ready to watch Chicago Bears football once again, even after the Chicago Bears got dominated 38-3 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Obviously, I didn't do any coverage of that because I was sick and out. But I'm not even going to talk about it because there's really nothing to talk about. They lost 38-3. It was a terrible game. We're going to move on. And this week, the Chicago Bears come back home to Soldier Field to take on the San Francisco 49ers. The Chicago Bears are 3-4. The 49ers are 2-4. So it's a pretty evenly matched game. Obviously, the Bears just lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 38-3. And then when you look at the 49ers, they just lost at home to the Indianapolis Colts 30-18. So both teams are kind of spiraling downhill, right? The Bears are on a 2-game losing streak. The 49ers are on a 4-game losing streak. So something has to give for this game. Someone has to win and someone has to lose. And this game is, honestly, to me, a must-win game for both teams. So the big news coming out of this game right off the bat is that Bears head coach Matt Nagy will not coach this game versus the 49ers due to testing positive for COVID-19 earlier in the week. All bullcrap aside with Matt Nagy as a coach, I hope he is doing well. I hope he gets better, and I hope to see him on the sideline very, very soon. Yes, I did say I hope to see him back on the sideline healthy. Doesn't mean I still want him as the head coach of the Chicago Bears. We should never question someone's health. We shouldn't be happy that he is not on the sideline due to COVID. Do I believe that it's going to help the Chicago Bears in this game? Possibly. It could possibly help with Matt Nagy not being there, basically ruining the game plan. He's still going to have his hands all over this game plan, even at home watching the game. He will still have his hands all over the game plan, but with him not being there, he really can't screw anything up and make some dumb decisions like calling timeouts in certain points or changing play calls or not game playing at all for Justin Fields. So we'll see how the Chicago Bears team comes out and plays for Chris Tabor, the special teams coach, which will be filling in for Matt Nagy while he is gone. Another big development for this game is that Khalil Mack is out with the foot injury that he's been dealing with all season long. They're still trying to decide if he's going to go on IR. If he does hit IR, that means he will be out past the bye week, which is week 10, which is probably necessary. We get Robert Quinn back, Elijah Wilkinson back from the COVID list. So getting Robert Quinn back kind of makes things a little bit better and makes it an easier decision for the Chicago Bears to decide if they want to put Khalil Mack on IR. Obviously, it's a huge loss because when you have a guy like Khalil Mack, you have the game plan for him. So let's hope that Travis Gibson and Robert Quinn can have a big game against the 49ers offensive line. I think when you look at the 49ers, it's going to be about what can the Chicago Bears do to game plan for Justin Fields and honestly the game plan to neutralize Nick Bosa against a pretty struggling offensive line. Obviously, you see when we face teams with really good pass rushers, we struggle. So what we need to do, we're 5th in the NFL in rushing yards. Give the ball to Khalil Herbert, give the ball to Damon Williams, run down the 49ers' throat, hard play action under center, which is what Justin Fields is comfortable with, right? Run the football, play action with Justin Fields, and try to get Allen Robinson going. Try to get Darnell Mooney going. I really don't understand what's going on with Allen Robinson and why Justin Fields and him cannot connect. Is it the game plan? Is Allen Robinson just not getting open? But these are the concerns, and this is what we need to see from the offense. Obviously, during this whole week, Justin Fields has made it clear that they need to do extra. He's meeting with the receivers after practice, getting extra work in to try to create that connection. And Justin Fields feels that the big game is coming for the Chicago Bears offense. But check this out, Bears fans. I need to see it to believe it. Enough talking. Go out there and play football. Because here's the tough part for me is Justin Fields in some areas is progressing. He's developing well. But I still think that this coaching staff is holding him back to his full potential. When are we going to just let him loose, right? You can still tell he's playing out there like a robot, right? They're telling him just to make the certain reads, right? Let the dude loose. Let him be the athletic Justin Fields that we drafted, trade up for to get 11th overall in this past draft. Obviously, like I mentioned, the 49ers have Nick Bosa. He's a very talented pass rusher. When you look on the 49ers offensive end, they're playing Jimmy Garoppolo. Trey Lance is still kind of dealing with injuries. I still expect Trey Lance to be the backup and to maybe have a couple of packages from. The thing about the 49ers is that they'll run, they run, right? And they get away from the run game. Everyone knows that's what Kyle Shanahan does. He gets away from the run game, right? So this is not a 49ers team to mess around with. They're still a pretty decent football team. But it is also a very winnable football game for the Chicago Bears. The Bears need to win. Obviously, I'm not even looking at the division anymore. We need to handle our business. And if we lose these next couple of games, right, against the 49ers, and then we play Pittsburgh, right, on Monday Night Football, if we lose these next couple of games, I think we can just pack up our stuff and maybe start selling the team at the trade deadline. It's that simple. But these next couple of games are winnable, and it starts right here against the San Francisco 49ers. So my 3 keys to a Chicago Bears win is get the running game going with Khalil Herbert. Obviously, the last couple weeks in his first start, rushed for 97 yards, and he followed that up against a pretty good Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. I think he rushed for about 100 yards, right? So, obviously, something's working. We're fifth in the league, like I mentioned earlier in the podcast. Fifth in the league and running the football. So, run the football. Key number 2. The offensive line needs to try to neutralize Nick Bosa. You cannot let Nick Bosa, one guy, take control of the game. So, that means he'll be on Jason Peters' side. Obviously, I think they're going to move Nick Bosa all across the offensive line to try to challenge our offensive line, which is smart. But we need to go back to max protection, using our tight ends for blocking, right? Continue to run the football. Roll Justin Fields out. Hard play action. The Niners are very good against the pass. I believe they're 5th against the pass, but they're like 23rd against the run. So run the football, make the safeties drop down into the box, right? And then hit them over the top. Play action with just Fields, and that is what he's comfortable with. But it all depends on what the Bears game plan, right? We could sit here and say all day that, they need to do this. But it's up to the Chicago Bears coaching staff to make the perfect game plan for Justin Fields so we can actually see Justin Fields' full potential and see him actually develop. Key to victory number 3 is the defense has to get after Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo is that type of quarterback that is known for making those key mistakes. He will turn over the football. Obviously, losing Khalil Mack is a big deal. It's a big loss. It actually helps the 49ers. But we get Robert Quinn back. Looks like Akeem Hicks is playing. Travis Gibson has been playing well. We still have Mario Edwards. We still have a lot of good pass rushers on this defensive line. Get after Jimmy Garoppolo. Make his day a living hell. And I guarantee you that Jimmy Garoppolo will crumble under pressure, and we will hopefully win the turnover battle, which in this case, I think that's what's going to decide this football game. So my final prediction for the Niners versus the Chicago Bears. I have the Chicago Bears winning this one 20-17. And that's my honest opinion. This is a winnable game. I think next week's game against the Pittsburgh Steelers is also winnable. But it starts here. I expect the Bears to get to that 4-4 or 500 record and still be that mediocre football team that we all know and love. But I think they etch out a win here against the 49ers 20-17 because I just feel like we will run the ball better and we will make more defensive stops in this football game. So let me know, Bears fans, what your prediction for this game down below in the comment section. I would love to hear from you. Once again, sorry for being so absent for the last week, but I am back and ready to go, and hopefully ready to watch the Chicago Bears kick some San Francisco 49er butt. But like always, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms, and make sure you share this episode of Geek on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. But other than that, I'll be back for an all-new Bears podcast right here on Geek on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and bear down.
You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Geek on the Mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Geek on the Mic. You can go and subscribe, cause I be on it right. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Geek on the Mic.